Mrs. President, thank you for your time. I know it's very difficult. For me, it was very difficult to catch you during the Ukrainian and Davos conversations because you are very, very active this year in different conferences and communication. First of all, thank you to Estonian people, to your country, to your civil society, to all Baltic countries for helping Ukraine. You are, I think, one of the most pro-Ukrainian societies and countries. Why you're so pro-Ukrainian? It sounds maybe ridiculous, but in comparing to other countries of Europe, Estonia is very pro-Ukrainian. Why?
There are several reasons. First, we need to prove that we really are pro-Ukrainian, and I think we can prove it by data, because by today's Estonian government decision, Estonian support to Ukraine rose above 1% of GDP, which would be roughly 3% of our budget. And if the whole Europe spent the same amount, it would be 150 billion for helping Ukraine. So we tried to catalyze the action elsewhere. And this is the reason why we are also very much popularizing what we are doing. I mean, trying to catalyze action also in other countries. Why we are doing it? First, this is the right thing to do. We stand for human rights and we stand for democracy and freedom. And also, of course, as a neighbor country, we realize very clearly that, Russia has to be stopped. I think all Russian neighbors from Norway, Finland, down to Poland, etc. You don't even have to be post-Soviet anymore. I would say, look at Finns. Finnish decision to join NATO is a clear proof that we all understand what risk the current Russian regime poses to all of us. It also proves, of course, that the only serious defense opportunity is indeed to be NATO member. Now, otherwise, why would Finns and Swedes be joining it more? But it's an act of self-defense in addition to being the right thing to do.
But it's very difficult to argue with you because you give very serious statistics arguments about supporting your country of Ukraine. You give very serious facts about the why you help Ukraine. But some experts, Western experts, think that the Putin regime, the Putin system, I would say, is preparing for such more, maybe bigger regional war against some post-Soviet countries, and maybe even Baltic countries who are part of NATO. Is it possible such kind of operation, or it's just illusion?
I mean, it's very hard to answer, of course, this question, because for that you need to have, you have to argue rationally your arguments, and rationally arguing my arguments, it would be insanity, of course. Rationally arguing my point would also be that extending in any way the front line for Russia is simply not possible. And I think even, for example, Moldova or Georgia or elsewhere, they overstretched in Ukraine. How on earth and why on earth should they go elsewhere? Against NATO, or at least actually, this war has given one Putin's lie away, because in West some still say, but he is afraid of NATO expansion and we shouldn't have expanded NATO. And then I tell them that, this is a lie and he's now caught out, and you know how we know? Because he has stripped his own forces behind NATO's borders. He wouldn't do it if he had any doubt about NATO's good intentions, that NATO is a defensive body. So he's given himself away. But on getting this conflict to be wider, rationally, they're not capable of doing it. But as I said, can we rationally analyze such a regime? I'm not so sure. But we need to do what we need to do and try not to guess what they might do. I think this is the best conclusion which also has come out of this year's Davos discussion.
Yeah, and my last question, which is logically from your answer, came that what will be the future, you think, of this new reality, political reality, regional reality in the European Union? Because some say that there will be some Baltic countries allied with Ukraine, but before the interview you told me, Andrei, look, there is another side of this war. It gives an opportunity to more quicker process of integration framed into the European Union. Is it really such kind of integration in the future, within years?
Indeed, Munich conference, we had a European panel like we always do, and there were Charles Michel and High Representative Borrell, Joseph Borrell were there. And I warned them beforehand that I will ask about the emergency invitation for Ukraine to start negotiating EU accession, simply to demonstrate Putin that what he's doing is counterproductive. The war had not started yet. And they were kind enough to allow me to ask this question and kind enough to give an open answer. But I mean, in all this kindness, this feeling that this is impossible was also present. Yet this has changed. So this has demonstrated that Europe can really actually do what is right and stand by its values. And this act of invitation for Moldova, Ukraine, and also conditionality for Georgia, this is a huge thing from European Union. And I hope that when all this is done and the war is over, then Ukraine will be able to make itself into a country which will fit the European family.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
For everything.
Thank you.
For your sincere answers.
Thank you.
Thank you.